What's up, guys? Today we're demolding. Alright guys, so it's been about a week or so. I've just been letting it sit in the mold. I haven't done nothing to it because I've been working on other stuff, but now it's time to take it out. So I'm going to show you the way I finish them, my boards, and how I demold them from my Maker's Reusable Mold. Alright guys, so in order to demold the round molds, it comes with the Allen head. You remove the 4 Allens, you pop this off, then you pop off this ring, and you just pop it out. Alright, now that you have the screws out, you slide off the ring. And I use a little bit of tuck tape just to finish the seal. And you just cut it. Alright, so after you remove that, I normally get a chisel, and like I've seen in another video, I ran my finger around the edges, and what that ends up making is there's an area here where the silicone's at, where it's like a cove. So I pretty much get the chisel with this part down and pretty much just pry it up. And it's done. And as you can see, like, I don't know if you can tell, but it's round. So that's when I run my finger around the silicone to seal it, and that's what the chisel ends up going into. And then you just pry it. That way you don't damage your HDPE. And usually, I normally start putting this back together. I'll clean it, and I'll just silicone it. So when I want to do another pour, it's already ready. And if I do it now, I just don't have to do it later. But that's pretty much it. It's a sapphire blue by Black Diamonds. I didn't record the pour mainly because it's just pouring epoxy, but that's it. Now I'm gonna go back to finishing it. Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling this again because I might as well. Alright, so now that that's screwed back in, just grab a little bit of tuck tape. And I normally add it here. And then I connect it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start flattening this. There's different ways to do it. Today, just because it's Saturday and I have some errands to run right now in a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and use my planer. But you don't need a planer. You can always get a router sled and a flattening bit and just go over it. The next video I'll do flattening it that way because I know a lot of people don't have a planer. Alright guys, so now it's planed. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in, I know some here, I'm gonna fill in these little holes with Starbond. Let that dry a little bit and then start sanding and whatnot. I don't know if this is gonna be a Lazy Susan or a clock, but it's gonna be one of those two. I'm actually gonna let you guys decide. Alright, so I forgot to record, but I went ahead and filled in all the small voids with Starbond, and I got a skewer and I was just pretty much popping the bubbles out just to help them rise, and that way I didn't have to keep filling them in. As you can see, most of the bubbles have risen to the top. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding. Me, on most of my epoxy projects or anything, I start at 80 and I go up to 320 if it's just like a charcuterie board or anything like that. And a lot of my oceans, I sand down to 3000 on those, and I wet sand and whatnot. But this is just gonna be a regular board. It's just a solid cutter. As for the edges, I do sand those down and start making them round. But as for now, I just worry about the top and the bottom. And then after I route them, I'll sand them and do all that good stuff. Alright, as for sandpaper, a couple months ago, I found Serious Grit, which is this. And I've been a big fan of their sandpaper and whatnot. And so that's what I use. The pads seem to last a lot longer on the resin, and they're not as aggressive as other stuff that I've used. The only thing is, well, you gotta order them and wait for them to come online. But it's pretty much 80, 120. And my 320 is Diablo because whenever I tried to get it, with them, they were sold out. So I just use Diablo 310. But this is usually what I finish most of my solid color boards on anyways. And as for my sander, I just have my DeWalt. I was freaking cutting MDF in here and it got really dusty. But I use a DeWalt with the Rockler small port tool thing. And that's it. Alright, so far I have sanded down to 150. I'm going to go ahead and add a chamfer to the front and the back, and then I'm going to sand that down with the 150. So I resanded it after I hit it with the router so that I can get rid of the scratches the router leaves. So I've already hit it with 150. I water popped it. What I do is I put water and alcohol mixed together, and that way it dries faster, and you don't have to let it sit around so long. So now I'm just gonna let it dry, You can see it's kind of drying right here. But I'm gonna go ahead and let it dry and then come back and hit it with 180, 220, and 320. Alright guys, now it's dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with 180, 220, and 320. Alright guys, honestly I'm not sure what this is going to be yet. Either it's going to be a charcuterie board or a clock. So I'm going to go ahead and stop at 220 and then figure out what I want to do with it and then go from there. As for a finish, I finished most of my charcuterie boards in walrus oil. It's pretty much the only thing I use. And I either have this or the furniture oil. But that's all I've used so far. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and let it sit in the oil overnight, and then tomorrow I'll wax it or buff it. But like I said, I don't know if I want this to be a clock or Lazy Susan. I have the hardware for both, so once I figure out what I want it to be, I'll go from there, because I do have another round one that I finished like a week ago maybe, and that also I don't know what I want it to be. Alright, yeah, so I finished this one last week, and well, this one today. And I don't know what I want either one to be. Either a clock or a Lazy Susan or both. Or just wall art. But yeah, so I'm just going to let this soak overnight. And go back and check out my Instagram and you'll see the finished product. Tomorrow I'll post it when I get back in the shop. Alright guys, well I just wanted to show you how I went about finishing it, since the other day I showed you how to prep it. Probably the next video I'll do a more in-depth way, and I'll actually flatten it with a slab flattener instead of my planer, because I know a lot of people don't have a planer. That was probably one of the most expensive tools in here. So next pour I'll do it. If y'all want, I'll do it using the guitar mold or just any random board. It doesn't matter. But go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll check with y'all next time.